All right, welcome to Message to Lightworkers, an interview series created to inspire and motivate intuitive empaths by sharing our journeys and our healing work. Today we sit with Courtney Dawson. Since a child, Courtney has been able to connect with the spiritual world. It wasn't until Courtney was in her early 30s that she answered Spirit's call and started developing her mediumship. Following the prompts of Spirit, Courtney was guided to Lighthouse Spiritual Center in Surrey, BC. Courtney quickly became involved in spiritualism, and not too long after joining the ministry training program, where she is now a licensed spiritual minister, she trains under Reverend Ann Larson and has trained with many well-known mediums, including Tony Stockwell. Courtney has recently completed her spiritual life coach certification course with James Van Prague. Courtney has dedicated herself to the work of spirit. She continues to learn and grow as a medium and is constantly evolving and strengthening her abilities. Hello and welcome, Courtney.
Hello, Sandora. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being with us and taking the time to just really share your story.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
Can you tell us a little bit about let's first start with what you do, like where you are now in the journey,
Okay.
and then if you could just then we can kind of backtrack and like unravel, how we got to this place now.
Yeah, you bet. So right now I'm a licensed spiritualist minister for a spiritualist church in Surrey, British Columbia. So I'm actively involved in that. Spiritualism is a religion, it is a philosophy, and is also a science. And a big part of our philosophy and the science component of spiritualism is that we believe in life after death and we prove it through mediumship. So mediumship is something that is not just something I do for work, but it really is a part of who I am and involves every aspect of my life. So currently I am sitting on a board of directors, and I also help organize functions and events and services for the center. But professionally, outside of the center, I am doing private one-on-one sessions with clients, and they range from mediumship sessions to intuitive card readings, and I also do intuitive guidance sessions, and I've recently started offering soul coaching sessions. So that is definitely something that is new and an exciting offering that I've had a lot of clients just jump on board with. So I recently completed the spiritual life coach certification course with international psychic medium James Van Prague, and so what we've done with that course and that training is now taking it a little bit further and really help people let go of limiting beliefs and get rid of all the past stories that they have and really connect with who they truly are. And that sounds simple, but it's not, especially when we have a lot of old programming and old outdated belief systems that we're still kind of clinging to, whether it be consciously or subconsciously. So that is a lot of work that we do in those classes. I'm also a spiritual teacher, so I teach development classes for spirituality as well as mediumship. And I also do platform mediumship. So in Canada, we call that gallery readings. So I will do demonstrations of mediumship for crowds of anywhere 40 to 80 people to bring proof of survival. So again, mediumship is definitely a big part of what I do in my day-to-day life, and I'm really honored to be of service.
Yay, beautiful. And thank you for your service. But you weren't always part of this. You didn't always kind of I don't want to say the word believe, but did you always know that there was this part of you? Did you always you said you kind
Absolutely.
of sensed it, but tell me about the time prior to you being so involved.
Okay, so my earliest recollection of the spirit world when I was about 3 years old, and I'm in my 40s, so I'm not going to give you my whole age. That kind of dates me. But my earliest recollection, I was 3 years old, and I was sitting on a wooden swing that we had in the backyard, and my mom was pushing me. And I said, "Mom, who's that man that's standing on the fence?" And I thought it was odd that there was a man standing on the fence, and he was walking back and forth. And she said, "What man?" And I thought, oh, well, ever since a young child, I've had clairvoyance, and what that means is clear seeing. So when I was young, I would see objectively. So what does that mean? I would see spirit just as I would see you, somebody solid, 3D. And for a while, I actually didn't know the difference. I couldn't tell the difference between spirit, the living and the non-living, because it was so real and tangible. But I grew up in a really religious home. Both my parents are devout Christians, and they were elders in the church at that time. So to have that validation of what was going on, I didn't get that. And it was very much about my parents saying to me, well, I don't see anybody, I don't hear anybody, it's your imagination. And then as I got older and became better able to verbalize and express what I was seeing, sensing, and feeling, they thought it was demonic. Well, it wasn't. And all my parents could offer was rebuke these entities, and that was the end of it. Well, that was the end of it for them, but not for me.
Mhm.
And so I always had this thought that what I was seeing and feeling and having this awareness of was negative. And throughout my life, I even as a young child into my 30s, I was plagued with severe anxiety. And I would have difficulty sleeping because there would be people standing in my doorway. And if I didn't see spirit, I was definitely sensing them. Now, I have a sister who can definitely sense the spirit world as well, but she's not open to it and doesn't want to develop it. And you know what? I'm okay with that. That's her journey. I don't judge it. But I really struggled with the anxiety, and I didn't realize until I got older that that anxiety was me actually picking up on the presence of the spirit world. And so now when I get some of those same physical sensations, I realize, wow, you know what? That's not anxiety. It's the vibration that is changing around me, and it's my physical body picking up on the presence of this other energy. So again, having knowledge can really be powerful in healing for people. It's the fear of the unknown, and that actually can create a lot of barriers. It can create trauma for people, and it was very, very difficult for me, and I didn't know how to cope, and I didn't have a support system. So I really, how do I say, like, kind of suppressed the abilities. I would always have clear cognizance, so clear knowing and knowing things that were going to happen. And my parents would say, oh, well, it's God talking to you. It wasn't God talking to me, I know that, but that was how they could understand or relate, because I would tell my parents things from a young age that always turned out to be true. And I would tell things that were going to happen. So some precognizance there that was going on, and that's about as far as it went. So I ended up getting married fairly young, had my daughter at 20, and I had my son at 21. And in my first marriage, there was a lot of dynamics there, and it wasn't a relationship or an environment that was supportive of me exploring or delving further into these abilities. So again, it's kind of like a radio. You have the volume, you can turn it up or turn it down. Well, I tried to keep it off, not down, off. But when that marriage demised, there was this sense of freedom within me where I just knew that it was time, and it was my soul speaking to me, and I was finally listening, and I was finally willing and able. And after that marriage demised, not so long later, a few years later, I met my now husband, who is a complete angel, and I'm so grateful for him and believe that the spirit world guided him to me, because he supports me in this work. So I mean, I do mediumship all day, every day, and I need that support system there. But throughout this work, it's challenging. There's highs and lows, and there's a lot of shadow work that goes on. So there's a lot of deprogramming. There's a lot of cleaning up the closet, and it goes beyond spring cleaning. And it's really getting down to the truth and recognizing who I really am, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And you know, I was willing to accept all of it and work through those emotions and do the work. And being a light worker isn't about just going and spreading light. It's also about doing your own work.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
also with this work that I do now is help inspire people to do the work, not be afraid of it. Shadow work isn't something that we should shy away from. We should embrace it, because all of these experiences and all of these moments that we've had in our life, they help form our story. They help give us those experiences that we need, not only for our own personal growth while we're here on the earth plane, but also to be able to support others who are walking a similar path.
Beautiful. You caught my attention when you said anxiety, because there are a ton of people, a lot of empaths, a lot of intuitives, a lot of people that suffer from anxiety. I mean, crippling
Yep.
anxiety.
Yep.
Um, how did that shift for you when you realized the anxiety was kind of you picking up on elements that were not from your own, but from some other energy, another spirit? Tell me about that journey with kind of releasing and transforming that anxiety into a gateway of connection and channeling. Can you tell us that story?
Yeah, absolutely. So with anxiety, a lot of anxiety, there can be many different factors that play into people having anxiety. So for myself, somebody who's definitely empathetic and able to sense, feel, and perceive the spirit world, for me, what was happening is that the spirit world was drawing so close that it was affecting me. So what happens as a medium, when the spirit world begins to draw close, they actually start to connect and come close to your aura. So then your energies are starting to blend, and it actually affects your central nervous system. So there's definitely physiological impacts or effects that happen when spirit draws close. When I finally had this realization what was happening, it actually removed all the fear that I was having and had been experiencing. And it literally was like a weight was lifted off my shoulders, and it was a sense of freedom. I really suffered with anxiety. It wasn't occasional, it was almost on a daily basis. And it made it difficult. I mean, it affected my sleep, it affected my eating, it affected me wanting to go out and interact with other people. So not only was I picking up on spirit, I was picking up on everybody's energy. Going into a mall, going into a grocery store were some very painful experiences for me. And I always equate it to when I'm teaching or working with clients who have similar experiences. Take a radio antenna. So your radio antenna sends out a signal and also receives signal. But for example, like this pen is my radio antenna, but I've got 100 different signals that are coming in one channel. That's going to overwhelm and kind of overload your breaker, your circuit system, right? So throughout this journey, I have learned how to ground my energies, how to recognize what's mine, what's not. And having that awareness is so powerful, because I can say, okay, you know what? I was fine a minute ago, but now this anxiety's come up. Where's it coming from? What's going on? What's changed? And having that awareness and not clutching to the physical or the emotional attachment of what anxiety is about, and stepping back for a moment and witnessing these other elements is very, very powerful. So I definitely every day do grounding. So connecting with that Mother Earth energy that allows me to feel stable and secure and calm, helps me stay comfortable and recognize what's mine. And then I always wrap myself in a beautiful white light. And that white light, I think of it as kind of like a force field. And that keeps out any energies that are not of a like vibration, that are lower vibrations. So I don't attract them. But with that, it allows me to witness other people's emotions. So I can still empathize, but I'm no longer taking their emotions on as my own.
And what are some of the sensations that you receive when you're kind of grounded and you feel like, okay, this is not an anxiety from maybe a spirit trying to communicate. This is
Mm-hmm.
anxiety from maybe just some type of fear, some type of nervousness. What are
Yep.
the feelings and distinctions between the two so people kind of understand that and can distinguish?
Yeah, you bet. So anxiety, when I would have anxiety, when I would be picking up on the presence of the spirit, I would get all kinds of sensations. My heart would start racing. I get the clammy palms like people do with anxiety. I would start to get this weird little feeling in my stomach, even sometimes a bit of nausea. But as I started to and continue to work on these abilities, because it's a lifelong journey, I can now sense and perceive when there's another energy close, and I recognize that. So if I'm not working with spirit, like in a private session or teaching a class, I will ask them to step back from my space, and then they can come back when I'm sitting in meditation or when there's a time. So I call it making an appointment with spirit, because outside of this work that I do, I still have work to do as a physical person. I'm a spirit having a human experience, not the other way around. So I can't live my life allowing spirit to bombard me, right? I mean, you look at some mediums that are on TV and they're running up to people giving messages. For me, ethically and with my training, that's not okay. I would want to be open all day, be bombarded by all kinds of spirits. So spirit knows, come back. This is the time you can come back, and then we can chat. Now, anxiety, when it comes to fear, or can I say anxiety that's caused from things that are not of a spiritual nature, that can be difficult because we have all kinds of things that come up for us. There can be our own health issues, loved ones that we have who have health issues, people that are transitioning, meaning they're passing away from this physical realm. People are worrying about how they're going to pay their bills, and how are they going to put a roof over their head? How are they going to survive in this physical world? And a relationship ends. How are they going to cope? How are they going to manage? What does their identity look like after that? And so there's all sorts of things that can trigger anxiety, but anxiety, I find, can really be curtailed if we can stay in the present moment and not worry about the future, what's going to happen, but stay very much centered, not only in our physical body, but in our mind. And when we have anxiety, I'll say that is from a natural source, if I could put it that way. It's recognizing that these thoughts are going to come and go, but we don't have to emotionally attach to them. We don't have to allow these thoughts to identify us. We don't have to identify with them. The mind is this, sometimes like a monkey just going, and it's a chatterbox. But I always find for myself, and I also do this with my clients, is ask them to witness the thought and then let it go. And I equate it to, think of a creek and the water is just floating, and a leaf that falls from the tree and just gently falls and rests on top of the water, and it just gets moved away. Allow those thoughts, those triggers to move away. Now, that doesn't change the fact that there's still going to be issues that we need to resolve or work on. I get that. But it's how we witness them, how we recognize them, and how we work through them. When we have emotions, or particularly anxiety, that are very, very powerful. And at times, anxiety can be crippling for people. I get it. Been there, done that, got the bumper sticker. But there's definitely some tools that we can work on. Mindfulness is a wonderful practice that can help keep us centered and help us look at the situation from a more analytical side as opposed to an emotional side. And so when we're dealing with any situation, there's a term in counseling that's called wise mind. So half the mind is your logical side and the other half is the emotional side. And if we can bridge the two together, we have a wise mind. So there's balance. And so that's a practice that I've done, I continue to do, and I encourage others to do. And also tapping is something that can be very, very supportive in times of anxiety, where we can lower the heart rate, we can reduce some of the physical symptoms that we're experiencing, and help bring us back to a state of calm. So then with that clearness of mind, we can then really delve into the situation and not allow our emotions to control us or our actions.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. So far we kind of learned about the difference between, feeling, our own energy and kind of separating us from them, other people, and then also us in message when we're not, open to it, to receiving, kind of taking a break and really owning our own power in the moment. And you've talked a lot about anxiety. Now that we have all those little components, how and what is mediumship?
Okay.
What is mediumship? How does that work?
So mediumship is the ability to be able to connect to those souls, those discarnate spirits that have left the physical form. So when we are here in this physical form, we are a spirit having a human experience. And when our physical body is no longer and it's expired, our spirit, our soul, that part of us that is timeless, ageless, and deathless, continues to exist in the spirit world. And where's the spirit world? Just reach out your hand. It's right there. It is at a higher vibration, which is why we cannot see it with the physical eyes. But a medium works to raise their vibration so that they can reach those higher states of consciousness and awareness and connect to the spirit world. And in mediumship, the objective and this is my understanding of it and how I work as a medium, is I work evidentially. So I work with spirit to bring through pieces of information that defy logic, pieces of information that you cannot Google or take, search up on Facebook, pieces of information that only the recipient, which is the sitter, the person who's getting the message, would know. And so that information can come in a couple of different ways. For me, I work clairvoyantly, which is clear seeing. So I'll see images in my mind's eye. I also work clairsentiently, which is clear feeling. So I might not actually see the spirit world at all, but as they draw close and as their energy starts to blend with mine, it's almost as if they become me and I become them. And I can get a sense of their physicality, their personality, any symptoms or conditions that they would have experienced here on the earth plane. I also work clairaudiently, and that's actually one of the newer faculties that Spirit's been working with me. And that means clear hearing. So I can actually hear the spirit person, and they will relay messages, use phrases that they would have used while they were still here on the earth plane. I can actually hear the tone of the voice, the high pitch. I did a reading today with the lady and I could hear her clear as day. And I described the raspiness in her voice and there was a bit of a pitch. And the gentleman says, "Oh yeah, that's my grandma." And just some of those expressions, those descriptions really helped identify who the communicator was. But most importantly, mediumship is about healing. It's not just about healing for those that are here on the earth plane. It is to bring comfort to the bereaved and help bring closure and messages from their loved ones to let them know that they're still around, that they still love you, that they've gone from having this physical cloak to simply taking it off, but their love and their guidance is still very much present with us. And then it's also healing for the spirit world. And people think, well, why would the spirit world need healing? Well, if they had some things that were left unsaid, some things that were not resolved, that mediumship gives them the opportunity and the channel to be able to share those last moments, to share some final words, to share some thoughts of inspiration and support and encouragement to their loved ones. And so for me as a medium, I always say that it's an absolute privilege and honor to be able to do this work, because without the spirit world, there is no mediumship. Mediumship just means middle person. So I always say, I'm kind of like the post lady. I just deliver the messages and I hope they resonate. And in my readings, I don't interpret the information that I get. So what I mean by that is when I see a sunflower, it has a specific meaning to me. There's a symbolism with that. But I have a client who, let's say, for example, has a sunflower brought up as an image or a symbol from spirit, and I share it to them. I'm not going to cloud it with what I think it might be. I'm going to ask spirit, what does this mean? What is the significance of this? Because there are so many different meanings and symbols behind how spirit works with us. And so I really try to keep myself out of the way and be the clearest instrument or conduit, if you will, for the spirit world. That way it doesn't muffle or change the interpretation or message of how spirit's wanting to share things with their loved ones.
Awesome. With your connection with spirit, once the messages are kind of said, have you ever experienced like the shift in that spirit's energy?
Yes.
And then have you experienced kind of the dissipation or like the moving of the spirit to literally another type of realm or like to another space and time? Or would you say that the spirit kind of stays in the spirit world and just stays there?
Well, I always say, like, what I share is based on my understanding, and my understanding is limited. All of our understanding is limited. So when I'm done a communication with a client, the spirits, let's say I bring through somebody's mom, the communication happens, the contact's been done, and I can feel the spirit actually start to step out of my space. So I'm no longer receptive to them. Sometimes they will stay around for the contact to, check out and see who else is coming through and listen to the messages. Sometimes they'll pop back in and just to say a final word. And sometimes the spirits, I can actually see them depending on the involvement of their soul. I can see the shift and I can feel the change within the spirit, especially if it's been one of healing and closure for the participants. and the spirit individual. I have actually seen spirits where it looks like they're elevating into another dimension. Can I say more light? But in the spirit world, there's different levels, there's different spheres or realms, if you will. And those realms or spheres are based upon the development or the evolvement of the soul. So for somebody who, and I actually just talked about this recently with somebody, for somebody who, let's say, was not a good person, didn't do good to people, maybe made some really nasty choices and wasn't concerned about anybody but themselves, and just did not some good things, they're most likely going to go to the astral realm. And the astral realm or the astral plane is the first level of the spirits, actually, or the spirit world is closest to the physical plane. And then as a soul continues to grow and learn and evolve, they have the opportunity to go to other realms or other spheres. And it's all based upon the progress of the soul or the soul's journey, how it chooses to heal, to grow, to learn, just like we have the opportunity here. So somebody, for example, like Mother Teresa, she's probably in a higher sphere because she's connected with that vibration of love. She has a very strong connection with her, the God of her understanding, and somebody who is in service to humanity. So she's already got a more evolved soul and a higher vibration. But there isn't, can I say, if you're a regular person just living your life and you're just doing the best you can, I don't want people to worry about, oh, what sphere am I going to go to if I've been bad, and am I going to hell, or am I going to go to that low sphere? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You go to where you need to go, but there's always opportunity for your soul to grow. And there's beautiful guides and teachers and inspirers on the other side that help us, because we live through eons and eons of time, and we're not limited to a specific time frame. So if we want to grow and evolve on the other side, we can, just like we do here in this earth plane. We have free will, but what we do with it is up to us.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Is mediumship something that everybody could do if they started practicing it? And would you say there's a dark side to mediumship?
Okay. So everybody can develop mediumship. Everybody has the ability to sense, feel, or perceive the spirit world. And I equate it to this. Everybody can learn to play the piano, but not everybody's going to be a concert pianist. And I'm not saying I'm a concert pianist, but I have developed my abilities to a degree that I can make contact with the spirit world and bring through proof of survival and bring through messages that validate that their loved ones in the spirit world are aware of what's going on. But it's a journey, and we continue to grow and evolve, and mediumship grows and evolves as our times do. I mean, look at now with COVID that's been going on. We've had to change and adapt to communication, doing it virtually. It works, but we had to change, right? Now with mediumship, I want to say, you make a good question here. You have a really good question. Is there darkness to mediumship? When we're working with the spirit world, it's important to make sure that we're doing it for the right reasons. It's good to make sure that we have a solid foundation and we have some training so we actually know what we're doing. When people start to contact the spirit world or try to summon spirits and they have absolutely no idea what they're doing, they are opening doors. And inevitably, they can attract lower vibrations, lower entities. Absolutely. So anybody that is wishing to develop mediumship, don't be scared of it, but make sure you find a reputable teacher who is going to give you a strong foundation. In all of my teachings, and I continue to train because there's so much to learn about it. It is this vast subject, and a lot of it you're not going to find in books. It's going to be learning and growth that comes from your own personal experiences and connecting with like-minded people. There's so much learning to be had. I think that's why I love it, because you never get bored, but find somebody who is reputable, not somebody who's taken a weekend workshop and thinks that they're a medium now. It doesn't work that way. You're not going to be a medium working, taking a 2-day workshop. It doesn't happen that way. It's not to say you're not going to gain understanding and start to have some awareness unfold, but I don't think even people who have some abilities, A lot of people, they will have an awareness their whole life of these abilities, whether it be psychic, mediumistically. Some people will have an awakening and it triggers that. Okay. So there's all different ways that we have this awareness of, wow, there's something more to me. There's something more that's going on. And I don't think that people should just start going out and giving readings because they have this awareness. Giving readings, whether it be on a psychic or mediumistic level, and there is a difference, there is a great responsibility that comes with it. You are in a position to uplift and support and heal people. And with that same token, you are also, if you're not careful, you could severely hurt or damage people. You could say things that could really traumatize people. And then I also question too, why do people want to learn mediumship? Why? What's your why? That's my big thing. Anybody who wants to develop mediumship, what's your why? For myself, I knew it was a calling, and I always knew that I was going to be a minister. I always thought it was going to be in a Christian church because I was raised in a Christian church. Little did I know, umpteen years later, I'd be a spiritualist minister, and I'm good with it. I love it. But I always had this knowing from a young age. And I remember being, I think I was about 10 years old, and there were some girlfriends and I were sitting in my backyard and we had rocks. And there was, I don't know what I was doing, but I had rocks and I was sharing them with my friends. And I would tell my friends things that were going to happen, and they happened. How did I know that? It was always there. And I always wanted to share things with people so it could help support them. Nothing's changed. But the why is a big thing for me. So for me, it's about service. It's not about fame or accolades. It's about being there to support people, to help them understand themselves, understand the world around them, and also to understand the unseen world, because the two are not separate. But getting somebody who has training, who's reputable, I always tell people, if you're looking for a good teacher, take a look and see if there's any spiritualist churches that are nearby, because they have trained mediums and the training is quite rigorous. And that's a good place to start, or connect with people who are like-minded and who have already maybe started a little bit further on this journey, and see if they can direct you to somebody.
Beautiful. Now that we're on this topic, if someone is looking to have a reading done, what are some good pointers to find, a credible, honest, ethical medium?
Okay, so I, number one, will always ask people, what are you hoping to get from your reading? Okay, so I'll have people come in a mediumship reading and they want their loved one to tell them what's going to happen in their life, almost like a past, present, future. And I say, well, that's not what mediumship's about. That's not how I work. So look for somebody who, word of mouth is really important. Somebody who's had experiences. Take a look on Google or Yelp and look at some of the reviews. Again, even take a look and see if there's any spiritualist churches in your area, and see if they can refer you to somebody. There's spiritual centers, not just spiritualist churches, but there's all different types of spiritual or wellness centers, who have people working out of them. So look for somebody who's reputable, and word of mouth is really important. I like word of mouth because it speaks powerful. Word of mouth is the best advertising that any reader can get. It really is.
You did mention that there's a difference between psychics and mediums. Could you explain that and go further into that, please?
You bet. So a psychic is somebody who is intuitive. A psychic is somebody who can tune into the energy of an individual who is living, and also can tune into the energy of the environment. So what that means is their vibration is heightened and they're more sensitive to energies. So they can pick up on information that's contained in your aura, your past, present, future. That's all contained in your aura. And they can read that. They can sense it. They often will see images through clairvoyance. They'll also have all the clairs. So the clairs are these different psychic faculties. So mediums work the same way, similar, but a little bit different. So a psychic will be able to tune into that aura, those emanations that come from that frequency field around you, and be able to tell you information about what's going on in your life, and can even tune into relationships and situations that are currently going on. They can also be able to tune into the atmosphere of a room, a building, and be able to sense and feel things that have happened in there. A medium takes it a step further where their vibration is raised, just like a psychic, but what they'll do is they are able to sense, feel, and perceive those in the spirit world. So not only are they connecting with the physical world, but they're raising their vibration and can connect to those higher vibrations and tune into those other frequencies where those souls of the departed are.
Beautiful. I kind of want to finish up here with more of your story and a little bit more about how you knew it was time to kind of go full force with this awakening within yourself. How do you know it was time to really follow your path, your calling? What were some of the final straws for you, or sensations or feelings?
Okay, so I had some friends that had went to a spiritualist church, which I'm now a minister at. And they had told me about a place in Surrey, and there was mediums giving messages on a platform. I thought, oh my goodness, what are you guys going to? But I could hear the spirit telling me, you need to go, you need to go. And this went on for about 9 months, and I kept ignoring it. I never did ask my friends what the place was called or nothing. So thank goodness for Google. And I found it. And I went there with a girlfriend for a message night. So, message night is where a medium or multiple mediums will be on a platform and they'll give messages to those in attendance. And my friend met me, and I was seeing spirit objectively again, which I hadn't seen for years and years. And it was scaring me. And I thought, oh my goodness, what is going on here? I thought, oh my goodness, am I losing my mind? What's going on? Somebody slipped my drink. What's happening? And it wasn't that. Anyways, there was this very interesting situation. So as I was waiting to go in, there was this lady and her daughter that were standing outside waiting to get in. And as I seen them walk across the street, I seen the spirit man with them. And he was clear as day, and I could see everything down to the buttons, the detail of the fabric. He was there. And I thought, oh my goodness. So when I went inside, I kept seeing him, and he kept telling me that he wanted me to give a message to the daughter and the mother. And I said, I can't do this. I'm not doing this. No way. Anyways, my friend came in, and this man wouldn't leave me alone. And I told her what's going on. And she says, what is happening? I said, I don't know. I might have to leave. Anyways, I said, okay, we'll stay for the evening, see how it goes. It was absolutely incredible, mind-blowing. It was an amazing medium on there. So when the evening ended, I walked outside, and this man was still with me. And I said, okay, well, if they cross the street and they go beside my car, I'll go. I'll tell them. And this is actually like the first real message I've given to anybody besides a family member or a friend. And they cross the street. They're walking in the same direction as my car. My friend's looking at me, and she's like, Courtney, what is happening? I said, I don't know. And I kept telling her all these little things that I was hearing from spirit and telling them. Well, anyways, they ended up parking right beside me, and she had the identical car. I thought, are you kidding me? So anyways, I said, hi, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to bombard you or anything, but this is what I'm getting. Well, they could identify the man, and they knew who he was, and his message was exactly what they needed, the two of them. And to see the healing that took place, I thought, okay, I actually need to do something with this. I'm not running from it anymore. And that really kind of opened the floodgates, and I haven't looked back since, and then I was working full time, and I was in a supervisor position, working long hours, and it was very, very stressful. And it made it really difficult for me to kind of balance work, energy, and then delving into my training. But I did. And I got into a development circle, which is a group where people sit in a circle with a trained medium, and there'll be a guided meditation followed by mediumistic exercises where you get to learn more about your abilities, how you work, and work with those that draw close to you, known as spirit guides, helpers, inspirers. And so that actually, my development took off very, very quickly, and that went very well. And then it came to a point where I could hear spirit telling me, you're going to have to leave your job soon. I thought, no, I'm not leaving my job. I've got benefits. I'm making good money, and there's all these perks. I can't. Well, they ended up telling me, what was it, about 5 years ago, you need to do a website. I thought, I don't want to do a website. I'm fine doing what I'm doing right now. And so I did the website, and then it was, wow, it went from just doing it kind of casually to, to people I knew, word of mouth, to, wow, it took off very, very quickly. And I thought, well, Spirit, I trust you. You're guiding me to where I need to be. Then I was in a really bad car accident, and I was dealing with chronic pain since, or have been, but it's actually gotten a little bit better. But the pain was so bad that I'd be bedridden, and my whole life changed from then. And there was a lot of dynamics around that. But that accident, as hard as it's been, was one of the biggest catalysts for my development, because it allowed me to get really centered, work on my own inner healing, and recognizing that a lot of the pain that I was experiencing, not only was it physical and coming on a physical level, but there was also a lot of emotional healing that still needed to take place. So through that really difficult, and it was a horrible experience, there was something good that came from it. And it allowed me to really do a lot of soul searching, a lot of inner work, healing. And then Spirit said, there's going to come a time, 3 years, you're leaving your job. I thought, I'm not leaving my job, you guys, forget it. What are you talking about here? Well, it was just over 3 years where it came to a point where I couldn't physically do it anymore because the pain was so bad. And then I had to leave my work because I physically couldn't do it anymore. And when I did that, it was amazing how much healing, physical healing, was coming to me. And I still deal with some pain, but not to the degree that I did. And Spirit has most definitely supported the work that I'm doing now. So it was all these little breadcrumbs that they were showing me along the way. If I look back from when I was a young age to where I am now, I can see their hand guiding me each and every step of the way, and how some of these experiences that I thought were going to destroy me or crush me were really just stepping stones to help strengthen me so I could help support others who had walked a similar path. And so it went from me just focusing on how is this affecting me? What's going on with me? But what's the lesson in it? And knowing that all of these lessons aren't just for me, it's to be shared with others.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Our last question for today. What message do you have for a struggling light worker that's attempting to follow their path?
Everything we do must be an authentic expression of who we truly are, and not to get caught up on how other people are living their life, what their journey looks like, especially when we start getting into social media. Everybody's got all these curated pages and it gives an image, but don't look at that. Connect with who you truly are, embrace all of it, the light and the dark, and trust your soul and know that you are exactly where you need to be.
I want to thank you for taking the time and talking and speaking with us and sharing your story and all of your wisdom that you have today.
Thank you so much.
For all the listeners, I will be leaving Courtney's information in the info box. You will have all the access to her social media if you'd like to contact her, maybe set up an appointment or schedule any consult. I don't know if you do consulting, but you said you did some coaching.
Yes.
So that information will also be available in the links below. Thank you again, and we will see you for our next episode on A Message to Lightworkers. Thank you.